So thank you again for joining us today. I now have the privilege of presenting today's speaker, Greg Benson. He's the owner of Apprende Business Coaching, and he has had a lifelong love for entrepreneurship. And after decades of owning several successful businesses, he began a coaching career using the EOS Entrepreneur Operating System process. And many of you may remember Greg when he led an EOS session for us last March. Today, Greg is going to share the truths and best practices of the EOS Leadership Management LMA process. Greg, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to let you take it from here.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to be here. And what Michelle was trying to say is that I am eye candy, so you will enjoy viewing me. And in case you didn't know, that's a little my dry sense of humor. But what I want to talk to you today about is LMA, and I'm just going to go over and switch over to the slides. Now, they were sent to you earlier, and they're also in the chat section if you want to just pop them out and have them on your computer. But we're going to have them on the screen as well. So let's get them up on the screen. All right, great. So again, the tool actually comes from EOS, and you can learn about that tool and all the other tools in the EOS toolbox from a book called Traction, written by Gino Wickman. And LMA stands for Leadership, Management, and Accountability. And so what we're doing today is going to be a little bit different in the sense that I normally like working with people face to face. We're going to have to do this remotely, so I can't look at you and see, but if you would, I'd love to see your faces, because I'm going to ask you to respond to some of my questions on the slides with a thumbs up with a yes, or a thumbs up down with a no. So don't be afraid to unview yourself or share your picture with the rest of us. So as we go through, the name of my business is Apprende Coaching, and it comes from the Castilian term learn. And what I do is I take my clients on a journey to learn a new way of doing business, to get more out of their business, get what they want out of their business. And I found this interesting. I'm pretty sure all of us have heard it before, and that's the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I did a little research on it. It was kind of interesting. I found that it was attributed to Dr. Albert Einstein. It was also attributed to Mark Twain, two completely different people, maybe some similarities there. Also attributed to an ancient Chinese proverb, also attributed to Benjamin Franklin, or even Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson, the founders of AA. So my question for you is, based on what you learned here today, what are you going to do differently? And I want to challenge you to come up with 3 specific things that you can take out of this Zoom webinar and put to work in your business. So when we talk about LMA, it stands for, again, Leadership, Management, and Accountability. And what we've learned is that great leadership plus great management will lead to strong accountability in your organization. And the style really doesn't matter. I don't care whether you're a United States Marine Corps drill instructor or your Mother Teresa style. Either works in the system, okay? But there are 2 non-negotiables that we have in the system. Is that one, the first one is that you really have to care about your people. So when we're going through this, the assumption is that you care about your people. The second assumption is that you want to be great at what you do. You want to be great at leading and managing your people. So when we talk about leadership and management, what we have is we have 2 completely different concepts here, but they're equally important in a business. When we talk about leadership, we're talking about 4 very specific things. We're talking about working on your business. We're talking about setting a clear direction for the company and for the people in the business. We're talking about creating the opening for your people in the business, and we're talking about more thinking, okay, thinking in the business. When we talk about management, we're talking about working in the business, and it's critical that you do both, but in management, we're talking about working in the business. It's about setting clear expectations. It's about having regular and effective communications with your people. And it's more about doing than thinking. It's more about doing and execution in the business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each of these 2 leadership and management characteristics. And we have 5 very distinct disciplines for you to work on to increase in those. So we're going to first start with leadership. Now, I've seen a couple of you. You've actually let me see your picture there, a couple of you. That's great. If the rest of you would want to start your video, it would be wonderful so I could see. Because as I go through these questions, I'm going to ask you to give me a thumbs up as an answer for yes to the question, or a thumbs down, no. I can't honestly answer that question with a yes. All right, great. All right, I see you there, Beth. Great. See some others showing me their pretty face too. So in leadership, again, we're talking about 5 very distinct activities or habits to have in your business. And the first one is that I'm giving clear direction. And when we talk about giving clear direction, what we're talking about is creating the opening. And when you created your business, when you opened your business, you created an opening there. And what we know, okay, in physics, if you remember, is that nature abhors a vacuum. It hates a vacuum. When you open up a vacuum, osmosis pulls things in. And so what you did when you created that business is you created this vacuum. And when you created roles in your business, seats in your business, you created these openings, okay? So you've created these openings. And what we also teach in EOS is that you need to have a compelling vision. Well, there are many ways to create a compelling vision. In EOS, we have a simple 2-page tool. Now, you can go out and you can create a 50-page strategic document. You can even create or pay someone to create a 100-page strategic document for you. We choose to simplify it down to a 2-page document. If you'll turn to the next page or go to the next page, you'll see the first page and what we call the Vision Traction Organizer. And that's the vision side of the document. So when you create that compelling vision, you establish your core values. What's your core focus? What are you all about? What's your 10-year target? Your people need to be able to see these things so that they engage and they're drawn into that vision with you. It not only stops at the 10-year target, it goes into a marketing strategy. By the way, I would encourage you to take this and fill it out and use it in your business as well. It's not part of LMA teaching, but it is part of creating that compelling vision, both for yourself and the people in your organization. Then what's your marketing strategy? If you have your core values, you know who you are. When you have your core focus, you know what you are, what you love to do. What's your sweet spot in business? With a 10-year target, that's where you're going, and the marketing strategy is how you're going to get there. Your 3-year picture is once you know where you want to be in 10 years, where do you need to be in three short years? You know, I'm turning 60 at the end of May, and it just seems like the years just keep getting shorter and shorter, and they go by faster and faster. And I just want to assure you, you may think 3 years is a long ways out, but it will be here before you know it. But establishing that 3-year picture so everyone in your organization knows where you're going and want to be in 3 years. Once you have that 3-year picture crystallized, what you'll do is then you'll say, okay, 3 years from now, I need to be at such and such a point. Where do I need to be in 12 months, 1 year from now, to be on track for that 3 years, to be on track for that 10 years? And then once you have that 1-year plan in place, all of you should see that center column says rocks. Now, I just want to make it easy for you. Rocks are nothing more. They're simply your 90-day priorities. What are the 3 to 7 things you need to get done in the next 90 days? And so that's establishing a compelling vision for yourself, for the organization, so that everyone can see it. So let's go back up to the leadership questions. I'm giving clear direction. Now, you don't have to use my document. If you've got something else that creates a compelling vision for the members of your organization, then what I want you to do, I want you to think about your direct reports, just the people that report directly to you, not everyone in your organization. I want you to think about your direct reports. As a matter of fact, I want you to write that number right under leadership. So if you have 3 direct reports, write 3. If you've got 6, write 6. However many direct reports, write that number on that page. And so here's how I want you to answer question number 1. I'm giving clear direction. I'm creating the opening for them. I'm sharing a compelling vision for them. They know where we're going and how we plan to get there. If you can check yes, check the yes box. If it's no, check the no box. If you would, hold your thumb up if you check the yes box. And if it's a no, give me a thumbs down. I want to see you. Okay, I've got Coleman's got a thumbs up. Park's got thumbs up. Also, there are the emoji reactions there. Beth's thumbs down. Okay. Now, here's the question I have for you. I've shared with you one way how to create a compelling vision, create the opening. Do you know how to change that no to a yes? Okay. If you know how to change that no to a yes, then put a check underneath that. If you don't, I want you to go put a star or an asterisk out to the left of I'm giving clear direction, because we'll come back and I'll try and help you with those questions after we're through with this section. Okay? On to the second leadership ability. Okay? Is that I'm providing the necessary tools to my people. Do you remember maybe when you had one of your first responsible positions, you moved into a place of, position, authority, and getting things done? Did you ever have the experience where you didn't have the resources, you didn't have the training, you didn't have the technology or tools that you needed, you didn't have the people that you needed to get the job done, and you didn't have the attention, the time and attention of your boss? Kind of threw you in the deep end of the pool. Well, at EOS, we don't believe that's good leadership. What we believe is good leadership is when you put a person in a seat where they're responsible and they have a role to fill in the company. You've created that opening for them. They've stepped into that vacuum. They want to do the job, that it's incumbent upon you. It's your responsibility to give them the resources they need, to give them the training they need, the technology they need, the people they need, and the time and attention they need to effectively do their job. So my question for you now, when you think about all your direct reports, and by the way, I didn't say this earlier, this is an all or none effect. It's either all yes. If you have one no, then you have to check the box no. So am I providing the necessary tools for my direct reports? So check yes. Give me a thumbs up. Let's see, can I see thumbs up if you're doing that? Okay. See thumbs down if you're not doing that. Okay. All right, great. Okay, good job. Thanks for the answers. My question for you is, do you know how to change that no to a yes? Going on to leadership ability number 3. I'm letting go of the vine. And by that is, once you've created that opening for the person in the first ability, you provided them with the necessary tools, are you stepping back and letting them do their job? Are you letting them struggle enough with the resources so that they learn how to do their job and they develop that confidence? There's 2 tools I want to introduce you to now. So if you go beyond the VTO in your packet, let's go down and look at that. It's a tool that we have that's called Delegate and Elevate. It's got 4 quadrants. The first step in using this tool is to list all the things that you do in a daily and weekly and even monthly basis. Create the list. Don't worry about where they go in the quadrants yet. Once you've got that complete list, there are 4 quadrants there. One says things that you love to do and you're great at. The next one says you like to do and you're good at. The next one is you don't like, but you're good at it, probably better than anyone else. And the next one is you don't like, and you're not good at it, but you don't think anyone is better than you. You put the things that you have to do in the course of a day and in the course of a week, in the course of a month, you put each one of those tasks, each one of those jobs that you have into one of those quadrants. And then you have to delegate everything in those bottom 2 quadrants to someone who reports to you. Now, what we found is this is fascinating, really fascinating, is many of the things that you don't like to do but you're good at, one of your direct reports actually may like to do those, and they're good at it. They'll probably be better than you if you'll give them the chance. And then there are things that you don't like and you're not good at. You need to find someone on your team to delegate those to, okay? because we have to free you up as a leader to do the things that are the greatest value, the highest and best use of your time. Now, there are two things that are going to happen here. One thing that's going to happen is you're going to empower someone on your direct reports or someone in your organization to do something that they love, and you're going to add to their value and their feeling of importance at your company. And even if you assign this to someone that they don't really like doing it, you still must do this as a leader so that you can lead the organization and not hold the organization back. So now let's go back up to the leadership abilities. So the first one, are you properly delegating things to your direct reports or maybe to an admin person? The next item there is what we call GWC. Now, my father was born in Alabama, and his nickname was JW. Now, I know y'all are in East Texas, and y'all got some neat nicknames out there too. But GWC, again, the next attachment in the packet is a tool for you. And again, take this, use this in your organization. But GWC stands for get it, want it, and have the capacity. We believe and we teach that when a person is sitting in a seat, an area that they're responsible for, their job, they have to get it, they have to want it, and they have to have the capacity. By get it, what we're talking about there is that it's to how they're wired. Do the neurons in their brain, they connect? When you explain something to them, do they get it? Do they understand the ins and outs of the job? Now, not everyone gets every job, okay? And that's not a bad thing. But when a person sits in a seat, they need to get it. Want it is a little bit different, okay? Does that person genuinely want the job, okay? Does she get up every morning wanting to do it? You can't pay, you can't motivate, you can't force, you can't beg, you can't twist people's arms to want it. They either do or they don't. I want to tell you that all three of these are critically important, but in my opinion, this is the one the most important to me. They've got to want to do it. And the next one is capacity. Not only do they have the time capacity, but do they have the mental capacity, the physical capacity, even the spiritual capacity? Do they have the training and the knowledge? This is more than just about having time. This is about having the internal bandwidth to do the job. So let's go back up again to the leadership abilities here. So when you think about your people, when you empower someone to do the job, do you let go of it? Do you let them do? Have you properly delegated to them? And are you holding them accountable with GWC? So check that box. Yes, if you do. And no, if you don't. If you would, give me a thumbs up if you can check yes. Okay, there you go, Park. There you go, Tony. Okay. Beth, I'm calling you out. I didn't see a thumbs up or a thumbs. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's in the middle. Okay, good enough. All right, Mr. Morris, where's yours at? Okay, good deal. All right, Johnny, you're just a picture. All right, Tamara, thanks. Good job. All right, so now let's go on to the next one. When you're sitting in a leadership role, okay, at your company, you have to act with the greater good in mind for the organization. So you presented this company vision to them, where you're going, how you're going to get there. Do all of your actions line up, okay, with what that vision is? Or all of your decisions that you make made with the greater good in mind? All right, I'm going to step into maybe some little sensitive territory here, but do you protect any of your employees? Are you a little bit political about things? This is tough when you have family businesses, okay? But you've got to act with the greater good in mind. You've got to walk the talk, okay? I think as growing up, I often or occasionally heard my parents say, well, don't do as I say, you do as I do. You do as I tell you to do, young man. And I would do that when my parents were there. But when my parents weren't there, there was something that didn't stick at that time. Shame on me for that. But I want to challenge you that you've got to walk the talk. You've got to be the model for your employees. You've got to set the example because they're going to follow what you do. And that the company needs come first, okay? So it's greater than your personal needs. It's greater than your personal preferences. So my question for you, this is all or none. Do you always act with their greater good in mind when you're leading your direct reports? So the answer is a yes, thumbs up. And if it's a no, thumbs down. Now, if you know how to change that no to a yes, just put a little check mark underneath it. But if you're not sure, let's go ahead and put an asterisk or a star out to the left so we can come back and address those questions later. Finally, to the fifth leadership habit here. And this is about leadership. Are you taking clarity breaks? And clarity breaks is where you're working on the business. You take time to step out of the day-to-day chaos and the grind to actually work on the business. When you do that, you're going to create clarity for yourself. You're going to determine what are the things that are important for me to be setting the pace on, where I'm having issues at. It's about protecting your confidence so that you don't get worn out. Now, I've got another tool down here that's going to help you with a clarity break. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Forgive me, I hope you don't get seasick with the screen scrolling. But again, I just want to read just almost that first sentence. This is about keeping your head clear, your confidence high, your focus strong, and it's vital in maintaining forward momentum. There are a multitude of ways that you can do this. You can do this on a daily basis. To me, I find that very difficult. Most of my clients find that very difficult. You can do it on a weekly basis. Most of my clients find that it works best with them on a weekly basis. Okay? You can also do it once a month. I find that that's a long frequency to maintain without having a clarity break. But you can do it daily, weekly, or monthly. You find out what works best for you. I'm going to make a strong push here in a little while about that. But if you don't know how to do it, here's some instructions on how to do that real easy. Leave the office, go to a coffee shop, go to Starbucks. Of course, none of those are open. Go to a quiet park with a legal pad and just start letting your brain work. All right, let's go back up to that. Let's see how we check that question. When I talk about leadership and I think about all my direct reports, for them, am I taking regular clarity breaks? So if you can answer yes, give me a thumbs up. Let me see the emoji there. Thumbs or emoji. If I can answer that a yes, thumbs up. If I'm not, let me have a thumbs down, please. Now, if it's a thumbs down, do you know how to fix this? Just put a little check underneath it. So with that, we've now completed, okay, the leadership self-assessment. So I'm going to give you a homework assignment. All right, so I'm going to need for you to hold up fingers. Do you want your homework assignment done in 3 or 6 months? Let's see how many fingers. All right, Beth, you want it in 3 months? Tony, 3 or 6 months? All right, great. Okay. So what I want to suggest 6 months from now, let's just say September 30th. I want you to set a self-appointed deadline here, self-initiated deadline, that you're going to change those no's that you have to yeses so that you become a better leader in your business. So if there was something in number 1, I'm giving clear direction, and it was a no, what I'd like for you to do, okay, is figure out what you got to do to change that no to a yes and commit to yourself and to your organization and to your direct reports. Change that no to a yes. Okay. All right, great. Let's do this. I want to just come back just a second as I describe this to you. I'm going to share and go to speaker view. Okay, here's the second challenge, the second homework assignment I want to ask you to do. I want to ask you to take out your personal planning device, your scheduling device, smartphone, maybe it's your computer, and I would like you to take just 60 seconds to go in there and schedule your first clarity break. I want you to look at your schedule in the next week and schedule your first clarity break. So you go up there, you hit your little calendar. I'm going to do this with you. So we're doing it. So you hit the calendar. You'd go sometime this week between now and Friday the 8th. Look in that time. Pick out an hour. I want you to pick out an hour. Schedule it. Take my little sheet. Read the sheet ahead of time. Read it when you get to your clarity break appointment or your location, and have your first clarity break. You may send me a thank you card just for me having you do that. All right? Now, everybody got that done? All right, great. Now, let's move on to the next one. Well, I'm going to scroll down to the next self-assessment sheet. Remember when we talked about LMA, the first part was leadership. The next part is management. Management is working in the business. It's about setting clear expectations. It's about effective and continuous communications. And it's more about doing and execution. So let's talk about this again. If you would, right at the top of the report, when managing my direct reports, would you write down the number of direct reports that you have? Okay. And so hopefully you came away with one or two or maybe three things that you could implement into your business out of leadership. I'd love to see if you could get one, two, or three things that you could immediately start implementing into your management of the business. So the first one is, I keep expectations clear. So let me switch back over to that. You should have that in your packet there. All right, great. All right, somebody give me a thumbs up that they are seeing the sheet that has the expectations. Great, thanks. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Naomi. Okay, so the first one is that I keep expectations clear. The first bullet there is mine and theirs.
Greg?
Yes.
What's showing on our screen is the webinar. The ticket for the webinar.
Okay. Let me do that. I clicked on the wrong one then. My bad. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Is everyone seeing now? Thanks, Beth. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so if you would write your number of direct reports, and let's go through this. I keep expectations clear, mine and theirs. So when you have direct reports and you want to have great management, it talks about keeping your expectations clear, mine and theirs. What I've often seen, and I struggle with myself, is that I do a fairly good job of communicating my expectations to them, but I don't do as good a job of letting them share their expectations with me, what they expect of me, what they need of me to do their job well. And when we talk about that, it just means you got to have an open and honest conversation and ask them, hey, what are your expectations of me? What are your expectations of this role? What is it going to take for you to love doing this job? The second bullet there is I keep expectations clear about their roles, about their core values, about their rocks, about their measurables. Their roles is what is specifically required of them in the seat that they sit in and the function that they're filling in or the job that they have in your organization. Your core values is what is the behavior that they expect? What's the behavior that's expected of them? Excuse me. The next one is rocks, okay? And I'm going to give a star or bonus for someone that can remember earlier on the VTO, I said when I use the term rocks is nothing more than what? The highest priorities that you have for that person for the next 90 days. And the next thing is the measurables. What's the daily or weekly number or metric that they have to hit in order for them to know that they're doing their job well? What I would encourage you to do, okay, and this takes time, it's a journey to do this, but set a measurable for every person in your organization. It can be as simple, for example, with the receptionist. What percentage of the time do they answer the call in 2 rings or 3 rings, whatever your expectation is? How often do they do that? So you can set a metric for everyone, a measurable for everyone in your organization. But did you communicate those expectations to them clearly? So the question here is, I keep expectations clear with all of my direct reports, yes or no? So give me a thumbs up if a yes, thumbs up, thumbs down if it's a no. Wow, well, I got a lot of thumbs up. For those of you that check the no box, do you know how to change it from a no to a yes? If you do, great. If you don't, put a little asterisk out next to that one. And let's see if we can't get you to share it with us later so that we can help you with that. So the next discipline there is that I'm communicating well, okay? And so this goes beyond just the expectations. And again, it's me and them. And really, when you do this well, you're doing 20% of the talking and they're doing 80% of the talking. You do that by asking questions. And sometimes when you're communicating with them, have you ever had, if you've got kids, it's happened to you before, they roll their eyes at you? Okay? That's usually a sign that there's a miscommunication there. And I want to assure you, when that happens with one of your employees, when they roll your eyes at you, or they have this look on their face like, you don't understand what I'm going through, that's when you got to open it up. Don't make assumptions. Say, hey, you're looking troubled by what we just talked about. Tell me what's on your mind here. A neat tool for doing that is what we call two emotions. And here's how you use the tool. You're talking with one of your direct reports. You're asking questions, they're responding, and all of a sudden you see an expression on their face, or there's a response that you really don't know, you don't understand. And you say, hey, I think we're not connected well on this. I want to do something that I hope will help with this. I'm going to share two emotions with you. The first emotion is a positive one, and the other one is a negative one. I'm going to share first. After that, I want you to share with me. So here's my first emotion. Man, I love the fact that you're here. I love the way that you handle working with so-and-so. But I'm concerned. I'm feeling a little, be honest with you, I'm feeling a little frustrated because it doesn't seem you're engaged. Help me understand that. And I want you to share two emotions that you have with me. Now, get ready. Once you ask for that, that fire hose may open up and a lot may come out that you didn't know was there. And by the way, that's a good thing. Get those out. Get them out of the way. But if it doesn't bring resolution, say, hey, gosh, we made good progress there. I just want to continue this. Here's a positive emotion that I'm feeling about. Here's a negative one. And I want you to share back with me. Just a little tool to help you there. As I mentioned early in this, question to statement ratio. If you'll ask more questions, if you're asking 20% of the time and they're talking 80% of the time, what you're going to get is you're going to get more buy-in. You're going to get more engagement. You're going to get more belief in what they're doing on their end, and you're going to see better results. So my question for you, I am communicating well with my direct reports. This is just your direct reports. If the answer is yeah, thumbs up. Okay, great. Awesome. Give me some emojis. Need to see some emojis, please. There's an emoji. Thank you. Thank you. All right, good job. Well, if you're not communicating well, can I see some honest people out there as well? All right. Well, everyone's communicating well. At least that's what they're saying. If I were in person, I might call some of you out, but I'll go nice on you today. All right. Thanks, Mr. Morris. I appreciate it, buddy. So the next one in management, I have the right meeting pulse. Okay. In EOS, we teach about a quarterly meeting pulse and a weekly meeting pulse. Quarterly, you would meet together to set your priorities for the next 90 days. Weekly is when you have these weekly meeting pulses, okay? You can have your own meeting pulse. Ours isn't sacred. It isn't the only way to do it. But the important thing is that you have the right meeting pulse. And here's what's even more important in those meeting pulses is that you have an even exchange of dialogue. You're talking about your measurables. You're talking about the priorities. You're hearing what they think is important. You're sharing with them what you think is important. And you assimilate that into what's for the greater good of the organization. In those meeting pulses, especially in those weekly meeting pulses, you have a reporting of the measurables, okay? What each of your direct reports metrics are. What's the thing that they're responsible for hitting on a weekly or a daily or weekly basis so that they know they're on track to fulfill the roles that seat or function or job has. Now, the next one is keeping the circles connected. And this one's a little hard to do remotely, but I want to just share it with you. As a matter of fact, let's switch back over to the speaker view. I think this might be a little easier. So when we talk about keeping the circles connected, what it's talking about is that imagine these are circles, these are little chain links for an engine or a motor. And then when the links aren't connected, what type of energy is transferred? What type of job is completed? Really none. So those circles aren't connected well. What happens when those links are overlapping? Okay, that's when you're micromanaging your employees. How effective is that chain at getting work done? Not very effective. What we teach and believe in EOS is that you have just the right amount of connection, the perfect tension, the perfect dynamic tension to help you get the most out of that relationship. You're not disconnected, you're not smothering, you're not overbearing, but just the right amount of energy and connection so that you maximize how effective you are. That's what we mean when we talk about keeping the circles connected. Let's go back. All right, give me a thumbs up. Are we back on the screen that has management, direct reports? Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, Tony, you were shaking your head no. I'm getting a bunch of yeses, but okay, we good now? All right, good deal. All right, so I have the meeting pulse. So I have an even exchange of dialogue in my meetings. I'm not doing all the talking. We're talking about the measurables, reporting the measurables, talking about the things that are critically important, and then that we're keeping the circles connected. So if the answer to that is yes, thumbs up. The answer is no, thumbs down. Okay, so if it's a thumbs down, do you know how to get that no to a yes? If you don't, let's put an asterisk out to the side. So the next question is I'm having quarterly conversations with my direct reports. We have a tool for that. You can use this tool. Take this tool and use it now. The tool is called a 555. I'm going to scroll down to it so you can see how it works. All right. And let's do the view here. Oops, I should have put that in differently. Let's do this view, rotate view. All right. All right, this tool is called the 555 because in that meeting, and by the way, this is meant to be an informal meeting. This isn't a quarterly formal thing. As a matter of fact, this happens best when you get off property, off premises, out of the office, out of the shop with your direct reports. Maybe you're going and grabbing a cup of coffee. Maybe it's breakfast. Maybe it's lunch. But you're just sitting down with them, having a casual conversation. And you just say, hey, you know, I just want to tell you, when I look at how you're following our core values, your behavior on it, I just want to tell you, I think you're doing a great job out of them, okay? Now, if there's a case where they're not, you want to say, hey, you know, I've noticed you're nailing it on 4 out of 5 of our core values, or you're nailing it on 6 out of 7, but there's one you're struggling with. I'm really happy with the 6 or 7, but I'd really encourage you to work on this one. So you're talking about the core values. And by the way, you're not going to have 5 core values. You're not going to have 5 rocks or 5 rolls. Always have that. It's just a neat way to remember this tool, and that's why we named it 555. Now then you talk about, hey, I just want to tell you, you know, I've noticed over the last 3 quarters, you are absolutely knocking it out of the park on hitting your rocks, okay, on nailing the priorities and getting them 100% done. You know, but I'm seeing in this quarter, it looks like you're struggling, you're slipping on one. Is there something I need to do to help you with it? Is there something that you just need to make me aware of? Because we all agreed this was an incredibly high priority this quarter. And get feedback, talk to them, just good communication as we talked about earlier. And the next one is the roles. The roles are the critical things in their job, okay? So Michelle Coleman, I hope it's gonna be okay to pick on you. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if it's okay to pick on you, Coleman. I love Coleman, he's in, he's okay, he's all in. So Michelle is having just this casual conversation. This is not a formal review here. She takes him out to the favorite place, okay, and talking to him. He's nailing it on the core values. He's nailing it on the rocks. But on whatever the roles are in his job, he's nailing 4 out of 5 of those. And she just casually brings it up saying, Coleman, you know I love you. You're nailing it on 4 of the 5 roles or 3 of the 4 roles or 6 of the 7. but there's one that I've noticed you've been slipping on. And this isn't to pick on you. Can you share with me what's going on? You know, Michelle might learn something about that. Coleman's got something going on in his personal life that's hindering him from fulfilling the roles in his job. And her knowing it, okay, she's able to flex and maybe help him with it. You don't ask the questions, you can't help. Okay? And this is about being good managers and helping your people be the best that they can be. All right, so that's the 5-5-5. Let's switch that back. All right. So, are you having quarterly conversations? In that 5-5-5, remember we talked about talking about the core values. I want to share with you another EOS tool that you can begin using today in your business. And it's what we call the People Analyzer. This is a powerful tool. Please look at it. Go buy the book Traction, and I'm going to be giving away some of those books today and to learn just how to use this one tool. You can also learn how to use the VTO as well. But what you do is you list your core values across the top. You put the person's name in there. And then what you do is you determine, look at the rating down at the bottom. A plus means that they're showing or they're displaying, they're manifesting this behavior, you know, most of the time. A plus minus is you never know what you're going to get. And a minus is most of the time they don't show this behavior, but boy, they can put on a good face in front of the boss when they need to, okay? But it's not their normal behavior. So what you do is you rate the person, you analyze the person, you give them that rating. A plus is when they're manifesting or demonstrating most of the time. A plus minus is they're 50-50. And a minus is when they don't. Sit down with them and share with them, hey, you're nailing it on this core value here. You're nailing on this one. This one, it's a 50-50. I want you to work on it. And if it's a minus, you're not going to like what I'm telling you here. I'm stepping out of being a good manager here. I'm going back to being an implementer, a coach, or a facilitator to you. They need to change that, or they need to go. They need to hit the road. But this isn't meant to do that, but it's a conversation that you can share with them. Hey, I see these are areas where you're nailing it. Here's some that you need to work on. And these are some that are unacceptable. You got to change them if you want to stay here and be part of this organization, because this is not the culture that we want around here. So let's go back up. All right. So are you having, by the way, this is not a formal quarterly review. We encourage you to do your formal annual performance reviews. There's a tool we have to help you with that, but this is not meant to replace that formal annual review. This is a casual conversation to help do fine tuning, to calibrate your employees, to dial them in to be the best that they can be. So the question to you is, I'm having quarterly conversations with all my direct reports. A yes is a thumbs up. A no is a thumbs down. Okay, all right. I see some middle thumbs. There you go. So the question is if it's not a yes, do you know how to change it to a yes for all your direct reports? If not, let's put an asterisk out to the side. Let's move on to the last one. The last one, I'm rewarding and recognizing. This is one I might get a little emotional on this one. So if I do, you guys bear with me. So are you giving positive and negative feedback quickly? Okay. It needs to be done in 24 hours. I've got a client, and one of the members on the leadership team, he grew up in a family. I think there were 8 siblings in Oklahoma. Life was hard for them. I'm sure his mom and dad, their emotional tank was empty at the end of the day. There was lots of mouths to feed, but he didn't receive any positive feedback as a young person growing up. And so now he has the attitude that, hey, that's their job. They don't need for me to give them positive feedback. They don't need for me to encourage them. That's their job. They just need to do their job. That's a tough person to work for. Tough person to work for. And in a minute, I'll highlight on that. But I want to encourage you, look at that. Is there ways that you can give positive feedback, even if it is part of their job to do that? Man, you'll get so much more out of them. You'll keep them so much longer if you'll give them positive feedback. Here's the rule, though. Praise in public, criticize in private. Never, please never reverse these. If you really want to get rid of somebody and possibly get sued, go ahead and criticize them in public. Okay, go ahead and do that. I encourage you not to. Take them off to the side. Maybe take them, for breakfast or lunch or just to get a cup of coffee or a smoothie, whatever, and have that gentle conversation with them to help with that. But you got to give it quickly. The next thing is you've got to be their boss, not their buddy. Okay, sometimes you gotta lovingly kick them in the seat of the pants. But I encourage you as much as possible, pat them on the back, but kick them in the seat of the pants. You know, that's one thing that I've noticed about Michelle. She's got the ability to do both. I've seen her sometimes lovingly kick people in the seats, but I've also seen them give them pats on the back. So hats off to her for that. The next thing I want to talk to you about, the last tool here under I'm rewarding and recognizing, is the 3-strike rule. You remember a few minutes ago I talked about the people analyzer, talking about the core values in GWC. There comes a time when people's behavior and their performance is unacceptable. And we teach what we call the 3-strike rule. And I'm going to roll down to the people analyzer to talk about it a little bit more. When we talk about the people analyzer here, we talk about putting your core values up there. But what you do is you sit down with a person because you care about your people. You'd love to see them correct behavior and stay with you. But strike one is when you sit down with them and you go over the core values with them, or the behavior or the issue is there. Okay, and I need to make sure that you talk to your employment labor attorney so that you do this properly. But here's what I would encourage you to include in that when possible. I need for you to be able to identify 3 specific instances where they violated the core values or they didn't fulfill their role. Because when you share with someone that, hey, you made a mistake, when you tell them one, they're going to say, oh, that's an exception. That's a phenomenon. I always do that. When you give them 2 times, they go, oh, it's really no big deal. You know, it was a freak accident. It happened twice. If you can give them 3 solid examples, they'll typically stop arguing with you and said, hey, this is unacceptable. We're going to meet in 30 days to see if you have corrected this behavior and are operating within acceptable norms here. So you set that appointment at that time. 30 days later, hopefully they've corrected the behavior. They're operating within your core values. If not, you go through the processes again. Here's where you're failing to meet our core values. Here's where you're failing to fulfill your roles. You highlight the 3 examples. It may be new examples, but give 3 examples. You set that 3rd meeting, and hopefully 90% of the times, 9 times out of 10, one of 2 things is going to happen in that 3rd meeting. They will have corrected that behavior, and they will have learned what's acceptable in the organization. That's the first thing, and that's a good thing, okay? The second thing is they're going to quit on their own. They know they can't meet the standards that you have to make this organization a great one. And they're going to leave on their own, which is a good thing. So now it frees that position up for someone that wants the job, gets the job, and can fall in line and be a part of the great culture that you're trying to create that we are. The 3rd thing is you have to make the hard decision to make a decision. And my decision, my advice, my counsel, my guidance to you is let them go so that you find a right person to sit in that seat that gets the job, that wants the job, who has the capacity to do the job and wants to be a part of the great thing that you're trying to build there. So let's go back up here. Here's the question. I am rewarding and recognizing my direct reports. I'm giving positive and negative feedback. I'm doing it quickly within 24 hours. I'm criticizing in private and praising in public. I'm being their boss, not their buddy. I'm leading, I'm managing them in a way that's positive and constructive for the overall business. And I practice the 3-strike rules. I don't let things linger forever. So the answer to that is yes, check that box. If the answer is no, check that box. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me see some thumbs. All right, okay, good. Great to see those, thanks. So the question there is, do you know how to change your no's to yeses? Okay, so now I gave you some homework assignments under leadership. Let's switch back over. All right, so I've got homework assignments here, and I want to give you the same 6-month deadline, September 30th. So first homework assignment is to get all of those no's changed to a yes so that you become a great manager for your direct reports. That's homework assignment number 1. Homework assignment number 2, okay, is in that same time period, I want you to have at least one quarterly conversation with your direct reports where you're going and you're talking with them about how they're doing on the core values, how they're doing in their roles, okay, and how they're doing in their rocks or their priorities that you set for them at the beginning of the quarter. And this is meant to be an encouraging thing for them, or at least there's an ancient proverb that I really like. And it says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. When you have those conversations, if it can be all positive and constructive, wonderful. But if you have to tell them hard and difficult things, that's okay, but just share it with them in a loving way. There's a great axiom that I try and live by. I don't do it all the time, but just speak the truth and speak it in love. And so that's what I would encourage you to do with your direct reports. So with that, what I'd like to do is I would like to go back up to the management one. Hopefully you got your page there. I want you to type in, I'd like for you to type in which one you had a problem with. And I believe Tammy's going to kind of manage those. If we get more than one, I'll try and address the questions, but if we only get one, I'd like, if possible, let's see if we can field those questions, okay? So under leadership, was there anyone that had a challenge with, I'm giving clear direction and don't know how to fix it? All right, raise your hand if, Naomi, your thumbs up. Did you have a problem with that one? Okay. Could we unmute Naomi?
I unmuted Naomi. Naomi, feel free to ask your question.
So sometimes with direction, you get pulled between what's best for your department or organization versus what certain regulations are, and trying to communicate effectively how to turn the regulations into direction, if that makes sense.
Okay. Naomi, could I ask a question to clarify that? Now, was that a regulatory compliance thing established outside the company or inside the company?
Outside.
Okay. I'm going to try and answer that as honestly as I can, but I'm going to say I will never encourage you to break the law. I will never encourage you to violate a regulatory guidance. That's something that the highest level leadership team, so I'm going to take Michelle an example. So if there's some type of requirement out there that Coleman or Tammy or one of the other team members are struggling, they need to take that to Michelle. Michelle needs to set the direction. That needs to be part of the overall vision. And that isn't what I'm hearing from you. So if I'm getting it wrong, clarify it for me.
No, I mean, that sounds great. For example, what I'm struggling with right now is, of course, all the COVID stuff, trying to pull things from both the state and federal guidelines, yet formulate in a clear direction, you know, because it's confusing enough as it is, and to clearly be able to tell the nurses what to do, how to do it, can get challenging, but you want to be clear and positive in your message. So it's definitely a challenge.
Naomi, I feel for you. It sounds like either you're in the healthcare industry or some other very frontline industry. And I am a former CPA, and I just see all the craziness that's coming out in the financial aspect of this. I can't imagine what you're facing. And when I say that, you as the leader of the organization, this is what you and your leadership team have to do. You've got to set that clear direction for them and communicate that to them as quickly as possible and effectively as possible. And that's tough in this environment. We recommend that in a normal environment that you as a leadership team meet quarterly to set priorities, to update yourselves on that. It may be in this current environment that you as a leadership team, as hard as it would be, may need to take a full half day or a full day just to get out of the business so that you can set these up so that you can effectively pass them on to your team. Those weekly meetings that you have with your leadership team, hopefully you're having weekly meetings. Those are even more critical now, even though there's so much pressure to push them off. You as leaders have to set that direction. You have to give them clear direction. And so please keep meeting on a weekly basis. I don't feel like, is it solved for you? Thank you, Naomi. And by the way, my daughter is a nurse at Cook Children's Hospital in Fort Worth. She was exposed to something, and now she's at home quarantined for 14 days. Oops, lost you.
Okay, guys, it is 12:30. So if you have any other questions for Greg, please send us an email or put them in the chat box, and we'll forward those on to him, and he can get back with you. We'll also give you his contact information, so you can contact him that way. As you were talking, Greg, I was remembering that you were the ones that we did these for. These are the rocks. We took it literally, and all of us painted little rocks on what it was just a fun team building activity. So here's an idea for you guys. Greg came in and did a session for our team. So anyway, so we all created the rocks on the things that we were responsible for. So that was kind of a fun thing to do. And it's a reminder for me not to get caught up in the weeds, because these are my rocks, and anything outside of that probably can be delegated. So, which is one of my struggles. So, anyway.
Michelle, I will have 3 books to give away. One is Traction, one will be Rocket Fuel, and the other one is How to Be a Great Boss. Why don't you and the team there do a random drawing? I'll either send you the books and you can send them out to them, or if you'll send me their address, I'll send it directly to them.
Coleman may have already done that. Coleman, I just unmuted you if you want to.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, the microphone works. So we found a terrific website called wheelofnames.com. You enter the names and it randomly selects names.
Love it.
I'm going to spin the wheel right now based on the folks that are still with us. And it's going to give me the name of, come on now, hurry up. Ms. Susan Burgett. You can hear it.
Hey.
Yay. So Susan, if Susan is still with us, I have her email address. I will send it to, I will get her mailing information. Greg, you had 2 more, correct?
Yes. Is Susan there? Does she want to pick which book? Does Susan can pick first?
I think Susan might have left us, but I have her phone number and her email address.
Okay, great.
Okay, next up, our next winner, Mr. Mike Singleton.
Yay.
All right.
And if Mike's with us, there he is. So Mike, I'm going to send you an email, Mike, when the event is over. I have it from your registration, and if you will send me back your mailing address, we will get that to Mr. Greg, and then he will send the book on to you. And our final one from the wheelofnames.com, which is my new favorite website, is Miss Rochelle. Is Miss Rochelle still there? There she is. One name only. It's Cher. It's Madonna. It's Rochelle. Who's your winner? Rochelle, I will send you an email after this as well. If you'll send me a mailing address, we will get it to you as she woohoos in the chat. There you go, Greg. So I'll tell you what, I'll be sending you a couple names with addresses, and you can send them out whenever you need to.
All right, great. Thank you.
You bet, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you,
Mute
guys.
me.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you,
All right, bless you
Coleman.
guys.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys on June 8th, probably here on Zoom again. So you'll get the information on that. Again, if you have questions, please send them on to us or to Greg, and we will get them answered for you. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.